on this computer. Hey, everybody. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Welcome to
Oh.
our LinkedIn Live. It's not a LinkedIn Live today.
That's okay. We're cultivating the brilliance of neurodivergent leaders any way that we can, even if it's cultivating it in ourselves. Grit.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Today we're going to talk about the wheel of neurodivergent leadership. And we're going to show you guys a model and talk about one of the traits on this wheel. So we're super excited for that. And we have me, Ken Carlson, and Petra Russell, co-founders of Prickly Pear. And I want to give Marilyn and Meredith a chance to just quickly introduce themselves. Go ahead, Marilyn.
Marilyn O'Hearn, and I've been coaching leaders, teams, and mentor coaching coaches for 25 years in 40 different countries with an eye towards cultural intelligence, recognizing all of our cultural identities, including ability and neurodiversity.
Awesome. Meredith?
I am Meredith, your differently wired business coach, helping entrepreneurs across the world grow businesses based on their brains and coming from building from their heart and their vision.
Awesome. Awesome. And Petra, I want your voice there somehow too. So let's say something for us.
I'm here as, like Ken mentioned, co-founder of Prickly Pear, executive coach, leadership trainer for many years with particularly tech companies and audiences where we both Ken and I really came across a lot of leaders that we would like to support with special coaching programs. And so we're touching on a couple of competencies here today. As Ken mentioned, we're starting our leadership wheel out that we designed specifically to highlight some of those particular areas of challenge when it comes to leadership competencies and something that's critical for 2024 and beyond to grow and reach that next level in your career.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. And today I'm going to share a screen before I ask my first question to Meredith. Okay, so let me just share my screen and share Keynote. And here's just the opening page today, and then I want to go to the next slide, which is the wheel of neurodivergent leadership.
It's so pretty.
It's so pretty.
Yes, I love the colors.
So the question I have for you, Meredith, is why? Why a wheel of neurodivergent leadership?
Well, I think the most important thing, just in terms of leadership, right? Leaders are people who are stepping into that next level, who are holding space for others, who are doing so many things. And as neurodivergents, we often have these invisible disabilities, right? People don't see the challenge areas. It's not something that's obvious or noticeable. And it's this idea that we also have these areas of super skills and super strengths, but in a neurotypical world, we're often pointed out where we're struggling. And so the four of us have created these key areas to really help give you a guidepost of things to check in and check out of. It really is the place to self-assess, especially when you keep in mind the balance between the challenge areas and your super strengths. And making sure that you've got a guidepost. So of course, these wheels of life are such a great tool for you to go, oh, how am I doing in inspiring and holding the vision right now, right? Right, we all know that the working memory can be a challenge. And so is it a challenge for me this week, this month? And I can give myself a rating and give myself an assessment in how I'm doing in each of these core areas, especially because we thought these areas were both containing the strength, the super strengths and the weaknesses, and being able to help us bring the best out of leaders with this assessment tool.
Awesome. 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 Who else? Anybody else got a thought that comes?
Yeah, I think, because we said we were going to share some client examples too. And I'm thinking on inspiring and holding the vision that creativity is one of the super strengths that Meredith is talking about that can be part of neurodivergence. And it's really a crucial to leadership to be innovative or creative and to hold that vision and inspire others with it. And how do we hold on to it ourselves when, especially for leaders or people who their focus may be kind of bouncing around? And I found with my clients that creatives, whether you're consider yourself neurodivergent or not, really it helps to have something visual like this wheel. So I've got my vision board right here next to my desk, and I've had clients who have, when I say you can write or draw or use a metaphor about your vision, I have clients who have been into music, leaders have been really into music, and they've incorporated the music into it. They've done painting around it.
Dancing.
Yeah, dancing. Yeah. So something where they may not be into writing, speaking their vision as much as communicating it in other inspiring ways, using music, using a painting, but some way of keeping it in the forefront of their minds on a daily basis and hourly or whatever it needs to be. And then to think about, I may be further ahead in this process than the people working around me. So how do I bring them with me on a continual basis?
Yeah, awesome. And Petra, I'm curious, how would you use this wheel in like a coaching session with a leader?
I think what Meredith already mentioned makes sense, right? So we're looking at something that's really a tool for some self-assessment. How am I doing? Where am I at really? And it's kind of like it may change at any given week or month, but it really, as I look at this here too, sometimes we feel like these wheels, they make everything look like life is an evenly sliced pie, which of course we all know is not. But it gives us a chance to really show, and as we, maybe place a dot more on the outside of the circle or more on the inside of the circle, where am I really having an imbalance, and where do I really need to maybe focus more on or develop more on? And so this tool, many of us coaches know this from the very beginning, right? It's like we mentioned, it's the life coaching wheel traditionally. I like that we kind of really here came together and just really emphasize what are some of the particular challenges when it comes to competencies that are both critical and oftentimes, present a particular challenge for neurodivergent leaders. So again, self-assessment for sure, and then also a little bit an idea of, how do I bring more balance into where I'm at with my leadership competencies.
Awesome. Great. And one of the things that we wanted to do today too was talk about one of the traits and introduce a series. There's 8 slices on the pie, and so each month we're gonna take a slice. And so this month is inspiring and holding the vision, and I wanted to start with Marilyn, with you to talk about a little bit in depth what inspiring and holding vision means, and maybe an example of a client that you've worked with in that area.
Yeah. So thanks. And I had talked about how it ties with the creativity that's the super strength, can be a super strength of neurodivergence. And it's also something, it's not like a one and done. So it's something that continually needs to be referenced and to stay fresh and to stay energizing. And, you can come up with creative ways of doing that. So I mentioned clients who've done that with painting, with their music, and that can be fun and inspiring. And just remembering, where you are in the process as a leader versus the people that you're working with, that you may be ahead of them, and how do you bring them along with you? And so, and it can be like on several different levels, so that when I coach leaders, I frequently will do live 360 interviews and have meetings with the CEO if they're not the CEO themselves. And in one case, then this was someone new to the executive committee, and in meeting with the CEO, he kept talking about, he had a name for when he wanted the leader of the organization to look like, it was a name for it, but he hadn't described it. So he had this vision, but no one knew really what he was talking about. So that came out in the coaching session, and we were able to flesh that out and everyone get on the same page and get energized. So that's one example.
Awesome. And Petra, what are some obstacles or things that would keep maybe a leader from being able to inspire and hold a vision?
Well, I mean, as Marilyn just basically described, it's a matter of really when you talk about clearly articulating a vision, it's really much of that through effective and clear and confident and motivating communication. And really the power of basically what we could call persuasive storytelling that makes a vision come alive, and then in turn obviously motivates stakeholders and teams to that high performance and action. And demonstrating trust is a big part here when we talk about generally talking about, right, how do we inspire and hold vision and motivate folks. And when we think about particular challenges here that we've seen in working with neurodiverse leaders, is that bringing to the table certain abilities to communicate and create interpersonal dynamics. Oftentimes we see that there's just a different communication style, obviously, from what the neurotypical expectations are. And oftentimes we see leaders struggle with metaphorical language or ambiguous expressions. And those can pose a challenge when, we attempt to use persuasive storytelling or, convey oftentimes maybe still abstract concepts. Another point that I've noticed oftentimes that presents a big challenge is when it comes to social interaction, there are certain nuances oftentimes required, right, for confident and motivational speaking. And those may not come across as naturally to some neurodiverse leaders, particularly, when there is challenge as far as reading the room or picking up on some subtle cues that, would inform whether the message came across and resonated. So those are some of the things that I believe are some of the observations we've made when working with leaders here. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm curious, Meredith, just to, push it over to you is, what difference would a coach make in those situations?
I think part of it is the, having the awareness, right? The whole point of this is having that awareness so that you can figure out how to create, well, what would it look like if I realize that I'm not reading the room, like Petra said, for example, how would I now measure what it would look like to accurately measure the room? And having those types of things, once we see the deficit or see the lagging skill in this particular leadership area, being able to create the measures that work and an understanding that works at least for that person, their brain, their understanding, and trying to figure out how to create different measures, right? I think when we talk about, inspiring and holding vision in that perspective, just like Marilyn was saying, having these creative things to keep it present, because and measure things. So in terms of like reading the room, I have a new measure that I'm doing in terms of the experience of people feeling seen, felt, and heard.
Oh, wow.
And so one of the things that I can do is I got round stickers and googly eyes, because I don't have the painting and the drawing. So I'm going to make googly eyes faces for every person that I hear say, oh my goodness, you so get me. Oh my goodness, I feel so seen and felt and heard, in some variation of that. to measure that I'm reading the room, to measure the inspiration and the impact that's being handled in a way that for me helps bring it fun and that represents the outcome, right? So, and having it, like Marilyn was talking about, those vision boards and those types of things really make sense, but it has to work for our brains.
Yeah.
Right. And so I also have another great example, similar to like what Marilyn
Can I
was
say
saying.
something first there, Meredith, just about what you just said? And it's what I hear there is just how you're dealing with people in their uniqueness, and I think that's a superpower of coaching, is
Yes.
that, we can be in people's, in that conversation with that executive, we can have a conversation and help them in a way that helps them specifically, it makes a difference for them. And I can see that's actually what you're doing. You're really, meeting them where they are.
And that
Yeah.
seen, felt, and heard is so important. And, that's a really important
So
part of
beautiful.
building trust that Petra mentioned, and building the partnership of coaching is that for who you are, right? And the gifts that you do bring. I think that's a key component.
So great.
Yeah, and I think that the what you were saying, Ken, and reiterating is that having it built in their perspective, right? We all have all these ideas. Corporate has all these measures that you want, oh, you have to hit this number and you have to have these data points and you have to have all of this stuff. But sometimes those measures that you're given that you have to meet for work don't connect the dots in our individual brains. And so having a measure that works, right, you said for the individual, so that they understand it from their perspective and how they can measure it in a way that works for them, and how it may or may not translate to the actual data points and the deliverables that are being asked of them in any given situation. I had this one client and really struggling with just like the concept and measuring the money and the financing, right? Trying to figure out as a small business owner, but they work in the world of like in a literal world, and books are so important. And so, just this idea of measuring, they got really inspired about measuring the different products and services that they offer in a different colored book jacket on their bookshelf. And so they would cover the books based on the new client that came in. If it was a $5,000 package or $2,500 package, 5,000 had one color and 25 had, right? So they could see the visual and have that excited experience and see the progress of the building, which was more important than the actual financial, but having something that connected the dots and had a meaningful way of doing it with what they were creating. So it's also about that, inspiring vision and holding what it means and holding what it's there in a different visual cue, because we often lack that, right? Out of sight, out of mind is really, really present for our neurodivergence in many of us.
Yeah, and I think that inspiring is then how does it relate to, if I'm the leader, how does it relate to the people that are working with me? And to say to, if you are my team, and this is how I see your part in completing and carrying out our vision and the important role that you carry, that's what inspires people. That's what keeps your talent, more than money, they say, people knowing that the meaning that they're making in the workplace.
Yeah.
I think maybe a point here to add is really when we want to bring a vision across, there's a lot of that emotional expression that goes along with it, right? Particularly to your point, Marilyn, how do you bring that across to your team, and how do you get people really to buy in and get excited and rally around, what you're envisioning? And I think what we've seen here too is oftentimes that the way I say neurotypical people are expecting to see certain things expressed feels oftentimes very inauthentic to neurodivergent leaders. And so I love that we bring in here really the aspect of how do I creatively express something that is and feels authentic, right? And still gets that message across. I think that's a huge part here too. And as we brought in earlier, Marilyn, you too, like, how can we make that more colorful? How can we make that really, inspiring and motivating? And I think the encouragement and the empowerment here through coaching really comes through, building confidence around, make that an expression that really is a reflection of who you are and how you want to express that.
Yeah. And I love the word inspiring. It's just the definition. When I think about what inspiring means, it's to breathe life into, and to inspire vision, to breathe life into whatever that vision is. And the experience that I've had in that world as a coach with mostly with autistic people on the spectrum, leaders, is sort of a why would we need that? Because I think they're already living it. They're fully alive with the vision, and it may not see a reason to have to go inspire the people that work for them. They're like, it's your job, sort of is an expression that I've heard from some leaders, is like it doesn't even make sense when they got their Corn Ferry or their 360 report, and their vision inspiring the vision piece of that was got scored low. Is like people just need to do their job and they'll be fine, right? And it's connecting the dots for them, that not everyone thinks like them. Of course, that's true for all of us, but to see the value in just having them practice just talking about the vision, just to practice talking about the vision, see what happens. That's one of the things that I've suggested to some of my clients, and it just shows up, right? What shows up is they see the impact. They see the impact of how that inspire that life of the vision that lives inside them starts showing up in other people, because they're inspired.
Well, and I think what you're speaking to is the place between inspiring and holding, right? Right. Some people are present to the inspiration, and as the leader, we have to hold it and help re-inspire and re-enroll people in the vision and the possibility of what it's bringing, and help them get that buy-in, right? So that's why we created inspiring and holding as this part of the wheel, is so that it has both the possibility of inspiration, and as leaders, making sure that we're holding it and reigniting that inspiration continually, so that others are also present to it. So the inspiring and the holding.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I just think also, as coaches, we can work in different ways. I love that. Let's just start talking it out and see how it goes, and play with it. And the four of us were kind of moving as we were feeling a little frustrated about signing in and paying attention to our bodies. And I've invited executives in their business suits to stand up, and to walk into that future vision and experience what it's like in their bodies, and then turn around and carry that back to the present. And it's been a very powerful experience, so there's different ways of working, right? It's not all in print. It's not all verbal. There's, we can use our bodies, our whole selves in different ways.
So great, so great, such a great conversation, and we have so many more great conversations to have about these topics, and so we want to talk about what's next, and how to utilize this information and this world that we're going through, and we have another LinkedIn Live event, and we're gonna give that a shot on February 28th. We're going to go through initiating and maintaining productivity, which is another one of the slices on the pie here. Today we had the what color is this? Is this a reddish salmon?
Red. I could tell you the hex code. I'm so nerdy, but yes.
Yeah. What's the hex code? Tell us.
Red.
It's a Pantone number.
I think it's, now I'm dyslexic, but it's DF3B8.
All right.
DF3B 56 or something.
And what color is this one? Meredith? I need to know.
I call it teal.
Teal. All right. It's
I don't
teal.
actually know that hex code as well. I think it has 9s in it.
That- That's awesome. And we also just want to say all of us are available on LinkedIn. You found us on LinkedIn, so you can connect with us. We'd love to spend some time with you on our calendar if you want to spend some time connecting with us one-on-one. Like and follow Prickly Pear. Petra and I are doing an event called Breakthrough to Brilliance next Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Marilyn, I want to give you an opportunity to share anything that you have going on that you want to.
Yeah. Just besides reaching out, I'm available for Unlock All Potential strategy sessions, and I've got 2 places for coaches who are looking to further develop. They would need to contact me this week.
Great, great, great. And what's a like a perfect coach that you would just be inspired to work with, Marilyn?
It's someone who knows the importance of clients being, really fully seen and understood for all of their cultural identities and abilities, and want to dive into that further.
Yeah, well, that's inspiring to me. So thanks.
Thanks.
And Meredith, what about you?
So I have coming up right before our next live, February 26th, I'm doing the Differently Wired Business Boot Camp. It is a free 5-day boot camp for entrepreneurs and people who are looking to improve their skills in marketing and sales, especially for products and services of your business, using collaborative approaches to growing the business with partnership and collaboration, and shining in your neurodivergent, neurospicy super skills. So that is
Spicy. I love it.
yes, that is February 26th, February 26th through March 4th. So it's a 5-day boot camp with a nice little masterclass on Monday the 4th.
Like, what is a boot camp? What does that mean? Is it like 2 hours a day? Is it 5 hours a day? What is it?
Oh, it's a good question. So it is about, I try to keep it short at 30 minutes and run over to 45. So the first day is the longest day.
Yeah.
And then they run about 45 minutes a day with worksheets and homework to help you work through the things in your business. I give away lots of fun prizes as well, so that everybody's taking an action every day, and they're small, simple actions that you can take.
And I just want to know, do
get
you yell at them? I want to know, do you yell at them like in boot camp?
No, I sing to them. I sing at them and cheer them on, but it really
You don't have to wear boots, right?
You don't have to, but you could if you sing, "These boots are made for walking. That's just what they'll do. One of these days, these boots are gonna
We'll
inspire."
walk all over you.
You don't see it on the screen, but I think Meredith's middle name is fun.
That's
I'll
awesome.
change it.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
That's really good. And Petra, I'd love to have you talk about anything that's on your mind about what's coming up for you or us.
I think, as you mentioned, we are looking really forward to introducing Breakthrough to Brilliance. It's a program specifically designed to support neurodivergent leaders to get to the next level in their career. And a couple of different ways how we want to introduce the program and show you what that could look like. And yeah, would love for you guys to join us on February 7th for it. It's currently on Eventbrite and will be a Zoom, like a virtual meeting. We're looking forward to continue this in form of an in-person opportunity to meet and discuss some of the challenges that are critical when we look particularly at the beginning of the year into what's ahead for 24, and what are some of the critical competencies as we are introducing our leadership wheel here as well, for you to reach that next level and be successful in 2024. So looking much forward to that. And our next LinkedIn Live, which is coming on in February the 28th. You see this here too as well. Please do join us for that. And having a lively discussion again with our wonderful panel.
Awesome. And that's great. We also have a recap, Choice Magazine. We're looking to have this particular event today be recapped in Choice Magazine, so take a look for that. And I think that's a wrap for today. So excited to be with all three of you and to also share this with the world and have a great rest of your Wednesday, everyone. I'm looking forward to the next time we're together. So I'm
Bye.
gonna stop
Bye, everybody.
Great to be
stop the
with you.
share and then stop the recording here.